There's a lot of good news today, and I have a lot to cover, so let's just jump right into it. It's September 30th, 2025. Okay, let's start with this. This is a radar system for the S-400. Ukrainian Special Operations Forces struck a Russian S-400 Triumph air defense radar station in Russian-occupied Crimea. They've been doing a lot of this lately. They've been devastating the radar systems in Crimea to the point that Russia had to backfill some from other places. The enemy's costly air defense system, designed in particular to target drones, was neutralized by, wait for it, drones. The radar station is the eyes of the S-400 Triumph complex. Without its surveillance and targeting element, the entire system loses combat effectiveness. Sure, it can still shoot rockets, but its ability to find and target and shoot accurately is diminished significantly. So that's a good hit. And then we see two legendary Russian $15 million thermobaric rocket launchers destroyed by Ukrainian FPV drones. Here it is in the Kyiv Post, what they're talking about. The Ukrainian forces have destroyed two TOS-1A thermobaric warhead multiple rocket launcher systems. That's what this guy looks like here, these things. So yeah, it's a good hit. Video appears to show two separate strikes. TOS-1A system is often erroneously translated as a heavy flamethrower system, but it bears no resemblance to a gasoline-fueled backpack and wand system used in World War II. What it is, the Russian system is actually a long-range artillery weapon that employs unguided rockets to thermobaric warheads optimized for blast effects, including oxygen depletion, alternating atmospheric over and under pressurization to wreak havoc as anti-personnel area weapon, with incendiary effects being secondary. So these guys are not fun, and it's good that two $15 million systems are off the battlefield. Ukraine also hit the Reserve fuel depot in Zver region. A drone struck an aviation fuel tank at the FGKU locomotive site, but it looks like the tank held. The area was quickly sealed off while emergency crews worked to cool the reservoirs. So it looks like they didn't do a lot of damage yet. I've only seen a couple of reports, and so I would say they hit it, but they didn't do much there. In the meantime, what you see here is a Russian oil refinery in Samara covered with an extreme amount of anti-drone structures. Look at this. They have these cope cages over their oil tanks now. I don't know that that's going to last, because if they put one right over the other, one drone going and then another right in the same spot, one will blast a hole and the other will go through. So, but that the Russians have to do this is a real sign that the Ukrainians are being effective. Okay, here is the HUR with the support of local resistance, blowing up a car of a Russian lieutenant colonel 660 kilometers deep into the Russian rear. So what you see here is what looks like this cloud. That's actually some kind of explosion, but let's scroll back a bit, and they've been watching this guy's car for some time, and then that's going to happen. Okay, let's look at what the Russians were trying to do to the Ukrainians day over day. Russia launched 65 attack drones overnight. Today is the 30th. And Ukrainian air defense, electronic warfare units, and mobile fire groups shot down 46. 46 out of 65 isn't a great number. And 19 drones hit their targets at 6 locations, with debris falling at 2 more. And then yesterday, it was only 32. That was on the 29th. And so that's interesting that they've been so low. Again, the day before that, you saw a big hit, 643 drones. And so 643 drones and rockets. And again, this was Euromaidan Press reporting it this way, and I'm showing you this for a reason. On Sunday, Ukraine shot down or suppressed 95% of the 643 rockets and drones, with Russia sent to destroy this peaceful nation. But still, in absolute numbers, the killing machine is growing, and once more, innocent civilians were murdered. I want to show you how I covered that. Look at my title just a day and a half ago, 95% shot down, but the 5% that hit hard. Now, I'm showing you that because we want to be as accurate and truthful as possible. I'm not hiding from the fact that a lot of damage was actually done by that 5%. But the big story was 95% shoot down. And then the secondary story was it still did some damage, and we have to talk about that. Okay, here's some of the damage from last night. A deadly Russian drone strike killed a Ukrainian family of 4, including 2 children in the Sumy region. Those children were 4 and 6 years old. That's what Russia was doing as it was targeting residential property, like where they were sleeping overnight. At the same time, Putin's forces unleashed fresh attacks on Kyiv, Chernihiv, leaving 26,000 civilians without power. Okay. New interactive map shows the human safari. These are Russian drones stalking Kherson, indiscriminately hunting civilians since 2023. Over 3,000 casualties have been recorded. Just look at this. Just look at the map starting to populate and what's being hit. This is drone attacks into the Kherson region from the over where the Russia-controlled territory in Kherson is held. This is into the city. Yep, they're just targeting civilians. And why there's not more of an outcry, I just don't understand. Okay, let's look at the battlefield. 970 Russians off the battlefield day over day. Again, as an average of 1,000, it's just slightly below. 4 tanks, 1 armored fighting vehicle, 27 artillery systems, 90 vehicles and fuel tanks. It was actually kind of a slow day. And then that helicopter from yesterday was recorded here today. In the Pokrovsk direction, Russians conducted only 35 assaults, so that's part of the slow day. And then, it struck me that today is day 1315 of the war. 1315. Now, if you divide that by 3, that means that we're on the 438th 3-day war, or 3-day special military operation. Excuse me, I used the wrong term. But it's the 438th day of it is war. Okay. Ukrainian air defense interceptor, FPV drone, takes down a Russian Lancet loitering munition. You see this boom in the sky here? Okay. That is the interceptor going after the Lancet. It's just fascinating to watch this. Okay. And then this is a cockpit view from a Ukrainian Army Aviation Mi-24 Hind helicopter gunship doing its best impression of a ground vehicle as it follows the motorway forward toward the front line. Now, why is it doing this? Why is it flying so low? It's trying to stay off of radar. And if it can just deceive the radar into thinking that it's on the ground, it's not likely to be so much of a target. Here's a 20-kilometer strike. The unit's fiber optic drone hit a Russian checkpoint protected by anti-drone nets. So you can see the anti-drone nets above, and they got under it. And then it was, wait, there's a person back there. And got to get them soon because it's on low battery. And there we go. And there we are. Okay, in what can only be described as a time travel experiment gone wrong, Russian state media made a whole article. This was on RT. The whole article about the 9th Motorized Rifle Brigade that has successfully revived cavalry units. So I'm not sure if they're going to keep the motorized part of Rifle Brigade here with cavalry units. According to the story, the commander of the Storm unit decided horses were the best solution to magnetic mines that disable vehicles and terrain too rough for armored transport. Okay, and that's interesting. I mean, they are trying to overcome a problem, but then there's this. The anti-tank ditch becomes a trap for Russian infantry from which there is no escape under the attacks of FPV drones. And I can't show you this image because YouTube would stop it and ban it and whatever else. Okay, so I can't show you this image, but here's another image of the anti-tank ditches, right? So if you're on a horse and you go down into this ditch and you can't get back up in a timely way, or if there are FPV drones just kind of sitting there waiting for you, you're going to be in a world of hurt. That's not going to be a good solution. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued the decree to start semi-annual fall conscription cycle on October 1st. The Kremlin is also planning to spend 17 trillion rubles or 183 billion on national security and defense in 2026, about 38% of its planned expenditures. You show me your budget, I'll tell you what you value. And this is what the Russians value. They are not stopping anytime soon. The Russian government is planning to increase funding to televised propaganda as well, in line with increased restrictions on social media and internet access. So they value war and they value authoritarian clampdown on the population. That's what they're showing that they value. With that breakdown, there's breaking news about Russian oil and gas revenue that hits the lowest level since the 2020 pandemic. Budget expects 100 billion in taxes, down 22% from 2024. Falling fuel prices and stronger ruble are hit hard. Moscow plans to hike military spending for its brutal war in Ukraine, raise the VAT by 2% in order to and borrow more to cover the deficit. So Putin promised he wasn't going to be raising taxes until 2030. But he's forced to raise the value-added tax. Andrew Perpetua posted this. Is it good or bad when a country runs out of diesel? Because that's where Russia is heading. They're not quite there yet, but they've had to not sell some of their refined products or diesel or whatever and just use it domestically, which means that it's going to hit the budget and so on and so forth. Okay, if you think you're having a bad day, try being this guy, the one given 400 million by Putin to rig the Moldovan election and still failed. Ian Shore, a Moldovan oligarch currently hiding in Moscow, has been instrumental in Russia's catastrophic attempt to take over Moldova, which is estimated to have cost 400 million. Now, all the election results are in. Sandu apparently, it appears that Sandu won by. So I'm trying to remember what it was. 50.2% or something like that. But she won the election, and by a full majority, not just a plurality. Okay. MAGA says there's war against Christianity. Ukraine says, yeah, we're noticing that. It's the Russians committing this war against Christianity. And I talked about the pastor yesterday whose house was destroyed yesterday or the day before, and got his kids out from under the rubble. And look at this church. Can you find it on the map? Yeah, that's where Russia is. Okay, last couple things. Shout out to Henry Nybor, undergrad Patreon student, and thank you for listening and supporting. I really appreciate that. Kyiv, Ukrainian Fashion Week highlighted a new era of fashion where models with prosthetics and scars redefine beauty. It's a powerful statement of inclusivity, resilience, and Ukraine's unbreakable spirit. Yeah, it is a mark of honor, and it seems to have these prosthetic limbs because of being able to endure under what Russia has been brutally doing to Ukraine. Thank you, my friends, for your time. Thank you for listening to this. Tell me what you thought about what you heard in the comments below. I try to read as much as I can. Thank you more than anything for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.